Season 3, episode 25. I feel like I'm out of gas because well, I am and I'm not. We just had a really awesome on-ramp. And it was funny because you said something like, dude, we should be talking about this in the podcast. And as you're saying that, I'm shaking my head no, because I don't know about you, but I needed a safe space to talk about some of the thinking around this remote emergency learning and who's running the show and people jumping higher than they're asked to jump and all kinds of awesome stuff.
I
I
needed
just,
space to be upset for a little bit. And it's a
whoa.
funny thing. It was a little bit of space to be kind of vulnerable, be upset, rant and rage a little bit with you.
And I feel like you weren't even upset. I feel like I was upset. It
That was
didn't,
my version of upset.
okay.
I've
It,
been using a lot of the Calm app.
the what map?
Calm app.
Calm.
Yeah.
Yes, Calm app. Sorry.
Yeah, keeping up with my meditations. So
That's funny because I didn't get the vibe that you were upset. Did you get the vibe I was a little bit upset? Or,
no. See, that's
okay,
the funny thing. I felt like so let's just touch on where we ended with that on ramp.
sure.
Sort of wondering about so when we when we left school. Actually, I'm going to back this up. One of the questions that I was asking my colleagues, and I asked on socials, and I even targeted some people on socials. I asked while we were in strike action,
Mm-hmm.
and we're no longer having staff meetings. Now, love them or leave them, staff meetings, at some part of it is still social learning. Some part of it is still gathering and community building. Some part of it is accountability to relationships. And I think some part of it still can be positive. Like you can build, there's still some positive things that come out of having everybody in the same space thinking about similar things. With that in mind, I started to ask people a little bit. And again, mind you, this is sort of, I'm going back to an inquiry that I started before December. So as we're coming into December, January, February, I asked a few people like, I'm without the staff meeting, where do you go for your professional learning? Like what spaces are you starting to inhabit, connect with, commune with in order to keep fertilizing your pedagogy? Like where are you sort of getting the nutrients to keep on the edge, immersed in, happy with, curious about your pedagogy? And there wasn't a lot of, there was some tentativeness to answer it in the beginning, I think, because like, oh, well, starting with the frame of, well, we're not doing staff meetings, so maybe everything's on hold. I will admit, my digital PLN was important, but then I also started just having more on the fly conversations. So walking in the hall, starting up a conversation there, like just having face-to-face, one-to-one professional conversations. There was that almost out, like we were already in social distancing as far as PLN development and professional development long before COVID-19 kicked in. We were already in a space where we weren't gathering together with the intent of doing staff meetings or sort of professional learning. All those opportunities started to dry up. So I've kind of continued thinking about this as we've moved into this distance learning that we're working on. So I still right now am sort of like in this space of, and this kind of comes out of our on-ramp, wondering where people are going now to develop and enrich and fortify not just the transitional stuff. And I get it, everyone's kind of cracking off on that right now, trying to figure out what their digital version of their classroom looks like. But the extra stuff, like what you and I are doing right now on Saturday, to kind of connect where it's not intentional that we have a checklist of things that we need to talk about, but it is intentional as in, I respect your opinion and I know that you're going to light up my thinking about something. And I'm going to feel like I've had a great, well, on one hand, therapy session, like a friend session, but I also feel like I've connected professionally if it's for 1 hour or for 2 hours. And it sustains me. It actually sets up my frame of inquiry for the next week. It satisfies my inquiry from the previous week. Like I feel accountable to my learning. I feel accountable to you. And I also feel like I'm still developing. And I wonder about that for other people. Like there's other individuals. I'm sure everyone's using their own version of kind of staying whole, whatever that might be, keeping their personal and professional kind of accelerating and decelerating at the same rate. But this is a funny little bit of time. I wonder about the people that don't have a reflective, connective kind of practice to lean on right now. Apart from, let's say, through a sense of desperation that they just have to have something happen for Monday. So in the on-ramp, that's like really part of the most powerful kind of emotional thinking coming out of it. So, and I know even now I'm not tripping either way. Like if you're trying to read my emotional state, I'm still fired up. Part of me capturing that fire is a little bit like, the pistons in an engine. That sort of explosiveness of the pistons moving up and down in the engine, the power of it needs to be harnessed in order to sort of motivate the car. So I don't spend a lot of energy often emoting on the outside because I'm looking to hang on to that to kind of like drive me forward with something. So, yeah, that's, wish I had a good off ramp from what I just said, but I don't.
No, it's all good. I get it. It's we're living in a strange time. Like this morning you and I talked about just how different things are so quickly, especially if you're following the rules. Like my family went for a walk yesterday, and my wife said two things. She said, number one is this what the Prime Minister's telling us not to do? Because there seemed to be like a lot of people out at the time that we went. And then the second thing she said was, we're never going for a walk at this time again. Because it seemed like we were outside at a time when everybody was outside. And as we were walking, I said to her, no, this isn't what he's referring to. We're not trying to gather with anybody. We're literally outside getting some fresh air in our neighborhood. We're not going somewhere to gawk at something or to start something. We're just going out. We're getting some fresh air. We're walking. We're hanging out as a family. I said, we're not doing anything wrong. Why it feels wrong is that as we're walking, we're seeing people socializing. We're seeing people socializing. We're seeing a lot of people out at that time. And it didn't appear as though people were... it appeared way too 2 months ago normal, not today normal. I don't know how else to explain it. It just didn't seem right. It seemed like there was an ease in people's behavior, whereas like my family's more on guard. Like we're literally on guard. I'll give you a great example. There are these kids that live across the street, and they were gone for the last 2 weeks. We didn't know where they went. Like their family was gone, and I made a point of saying midway through last week when we walked past their house, I said, something's up with this family because the kids are like always outside. They're younger than my kids, and they're always out riding their bikes, doing whatever. And my wife said, well, maybe they're at their grandparents' house or something. Well, guess who reappeared on the weekend? Last weekend, not last weekend, like maybe 3 days ago, they reappeared. And I said to my youngest, who goes outside and plays in the front, I said, if they come anywhere near you, you come in the house. Because they agitate him. They're not friends. They agitate him, and he doesn't play with them. And so they don't pick on him, but the kids don't like each other, I'd say. And, a couple of times he's come in and said, they didn't come to me, but they're playing with the other kids. I said, what do you mean? It's like, well, the house across this street, that kid who always plays with them, they're all playing together again. And I literally shook my head and I said, okay, well, just stay away from them. Like if they come here and they come to bother you, come inside and get me, and I'll go to their parents' house and say, like, keep your kids away. My son's playing in front of our house. He's not talking to your kids. He doesn't want anything to do with them. They're coming over here, and we don't want that. Keep your kids where they should be. And I felt I felt bothered. And I'm like, why should I be? I shouldn't be bothered, but I should be, because we've been told to not get close to people that way. And all these kids are back and they're doing their regular thing, like pre-COVID-19. It's almost like nobody's told them, stay away from the other kids, just play with your brother. And that pisses me off, because we're trying to settle something here. The whole world is upside down because of this. So how you not take it seriously is really annoying. The whole world's upside down. People who are still living in pre-COVID-19 times, they're out to lunch. They're the dangerous people. We're in the middle of something. For goodness sake, even like the political leaders in the United States were ignoring this, thinking that it was a hoax. There's no friggin' hoax here. You know, if you actually look at, like, people are dying and people are still walking around living like they're invincible. So, yeah, like my wife was like, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. I said, you know what? We found the wrong time to be out, because we never go right after dinner type of thing. And that's when we were, and everybody was out, to the point where, like, our kids were on their scooters. We're like, don't scooter too far in front of us. We don't know who's up there. And they're like, okay. Even they're like, this is weird. What's everybody doing outside? And it didn't seem like there was any, like, it's just laissez-faire. Everybody was just hanging out. It's like, well, that's what's going to get people in more trouble. So we did our walk. We got in the house and we're like, okay, so we're not going at that time anymore. And it's weird, because we're at home working from 9 to 3. So we certainly we're honoring our work life, and we're honoring, like, we're available for our parents and our students and our teacher and our, like, administrators to communicate and to deal with stuff as it comes. So anyway, last night we went for a drive instead. We thought we'd get our fresh air we drove out to the country, where generally physical distancing is the way life is out there. So it was nice. It was nice to get out. And I love how people are stepping up to the occasion. So I just talked about the morons who are not. Let me talk about the people who are. There's a bakery out in the country that we really enjoy. It's a restaurant, but we're not going to the restaurant. And actually, the restaurant's closed. They're not serving people in the restaurant, but they have a bakery attached to the restaurant, and the bakery's still open.
You gonna name drop it? You gonna throw some love their way?
Sure.
Name drop it. Who is it?
Anime's.
Cool.
Anime's restaurant.
Props to you, Anime's. Props to you.
Wellesley, or close to Wellesley. It's out there. It's like 30 minutes away from my house in the country. And Anime's has done everything that they can to set up their bakery, their storefront, in a way to reassure people that they are doing everything they can to make sure you're not coming into contact with other people or with their employees. Very clean, like real deal stuff, like a business that I think is surviving and possibly thriving during this time because of their approach. So as this COVID-19 thing's been happening, they've been adjusting their mode of operation to the point where they have their waitresses on these little scooters, and they will scooter. You can call in your order, and you can arrive and you can go in and pick it up, or you can stay in the parking lot and they'll have one of their waitresses scooter to your car with your order and put it in your car and scooter back into the place. So my wife called and she placed an order, and we got out there. We were in the parking lot. She called and she said, I'm here. We paid with our credit card. Somebody came out to the car. The trunk was open. They made sure that our order was right. They literally put the box of baked goods in our trunk and they left. And my wife and I are looking at each other and we're like, this is like, we just dropped a lot of money for a lot of baked goods and we were happy to do so. We were happy to give them our money because they're doing everything they can to make sure they're doing what they should to be responsible during this time and to make their customers feel like they're valued. And so after this thing's over, we're more than happy to go and like actually sit in the restaurant again and eat there. Um, I feel like people are stepping up, and I want to give those places my money. Like you know what else my wife said, which is interesting. She's like, because you know that my family has a tradition, a routine. We go out every Friday night for dinner,
Yep.
and that gets messed up because the boys' sports and stuff. But generally speaking, we'll do one night where we order out. We've not ordered out since any of this has started. Like before the March break, before it was announced that schools were closing, we haven't eaten out at all, and that's weird. So like literally every afternoon at 4:30, one of us is cooking dinner. We're both cooking dinner together. And in a way, we're feeling kind of exhausted from it, but in a way, we're kind of feeling revived. It's like a yin and the yang thing. You need a little bit of both to move forward. And it was funny. Just my wife was saying, should we get some food from the restaurant? I said no. We haven't up to this point. We don't need to. Let's just get the baked goods that is either frozen that we can bake it ourselves or reheat it ourselves, or is just made and packaged. And I don't feel right eating like a meal right now from outside of our house. I want to make our own food. And I feel weird about that feeling, but I also feel like I'm trying to do my part. I'm trying to do my part because I know that we're living in a new normal, and I do kind of miss the old normal. I don't miss the hustle and bustle because I think you recall with my kids' activities and like work obligations, it was friggin' busy in my house, and I don't see that as a badge of honor at all. Like my wife was actually like distraught a few weeks before the March break. She was just like, "This is crazy. Like we don't eat together. You and Will, you get home and then you just grab him and go to his sporting or whatever." Like she's like, "This is crazy." And I remember saying, "It is what it is. This is it. No, we're not purposely looking for things to fill our time. We're part of groups that require a commitment, and this is what it looks like." And it's been nice to hit pause, but I'm feeling like the pause button has been hit extreme. Like it's been stop. It's not been pause. The stop button's been hit, and the concern is like, will anybody ever going to hit play again? Um, and like I'm going to go back to my church field trip. I don't know if like I'd be in the church this Thursday. Like I think things every week seem to get shut down more. The politicians are starting to say, you people are going to force me to start enacting bylaws and stuff to keep you from doing certain things because you're not listening. Like we're moving in that direction. And I remember when this first started, people were like, well, why don't you just come out and drop the hammer? And the politicians were like, there's no reason for that. Let's start now, and let's move from here. And I think people aren't listening, and they're the minority, but that minority is causing some difficulty. And I think that hammer's going to start coming down. And when it does come down, it's just going to delay going back to normal. It's just everything's going to continue to be delayed. So it's interesting. It's interesting what your perspective is. Um, that things are changing every day. Like it's so weird. Every day there's a new change. I've never seen the prime minister speak to the country more in my life. Um, the whole thing is just, it's different. It's different. I'm I'm starting to I'm starting to feel like I do want to initiate some more um, drive-bys. Like I want to text my buddies and say, "Dude, what are you doing tomorrow at 4:30? Can I just drive by, stick your head out the door, I'll give you a wave." I just feel like I need to see people, you know? Just I'll pull right up to your house, open your door,
Drop a hello in your trunk, and away we go.
or just like whatever, man.
Curbside service.
Somebody, I won't mention any names, but somebody dropped off a care package for me the other day. Um, Four beverages on my front doorstep and a note that said "I rock." And this individual didn't just drop it off, ring the doorbell, and take off. Put it there, rang the doorbell, and I caught this person as they were getting in their car, and I'm like, "What's going on? Thank you very much." And it was cool to see the person again and to just have a face to face connect. But I'm on my front step, and this person's in the driveway in their car with the window open, and that's the new responsible reality, in my opinion. It's the responsible thing to do. And if you're not doing it, then don't come to my house. I got two kids and a wife. Dad mode is kicked in. I'm not interested. I'm not interested.
I went for on Fridays in the past. Couple colleagues from work, we would go to Starbucks near our school afterwards and just joke and kind of like play with the week and talk about families and life and stuff like that. So yesterday we set up a Google Meet. We had coffee, and it was cool. It was like it definitely did not. There were it didn't. It wasn't the same, but it was necessary and it felt good. And we just were each in our spaces. I'm sitting in my living room with my laptop, and my one friend is in her kitchen, and my other buddy's in his dining room. And we just it was everything other than being in the same place at the same time. It was very cool. Talking with we were talking about how both of us are kind of helping out some of our colleagues with tech stuff and playing with what distance learning could look like. One of the dudes I was talking to yesterday, he was saying how it's just him and his mom. That's it. Like that's all for their family unit. And the other day he drove up and he sat in the driveway just like that. Like you were saying, sat in the driveway in his car. She sat on her porch and they just chatted to each other from there. She was inside making whatever it was, like I think it was like a regular, like a Sunday dinner day or something like that. So she brought out a bunch of like cooked stuff, ready to go stuff that she had packaged all up inside of tinfoil and stuff like that. She put it on the walk down, put it on the sidewalk, went back up. He got out, got it. They had a little snack while they were sitting there talking, and he took the rest home. So these things are happening. I dig hearing the stories like that, and I appreciate more and more the value of that connection. Right now, I'm in the process of trying to get my mom set up on Skype, which I have to do with other people's assistance. So she was out grocery shopping, and she left one of her neighbors that helps her out a lot has a key to the house. So she went out grocery shopping, and then the neighbor came in and started doing, like I had sent my mom an email. Here's what you have to have on your laptop. The neighbor's pretty good with computers. So he came in and set it all up, went back home. She came home from grocery shopping. So now she's set up on Skype. So we're going to test drive that today.
That's awesome. I'm happy to hear people helping other people.
Yep.
Obviously, my son and I did a birthday drive-by on Tuesday, and it was a kid from his baseball team. And about it's a thing now, like people have video recorded, their kids standing outside and cars driving past and honking with signs or whatever.
Yep.
And so this one mom on our.
It's the new flash mob, eh?
Yeah.
It's like our COVID flash mob.
So the mom had put a message on our team app, saying, "Hey, the boy's feeling kind of bummed. His birthday's happening on this day. He knows there's no party, there's no nothing. If you want to swing by and just like say hi, that we'll be outside, kind of thing. We'll make it so that he's outside between this time and this time." And some people responded, and I said, "Hey, we're in. Will and we'll drive past, we'll stop, we'll say hello, happy birthday." And when we got there, it was like you could see the positive emotion on the family's face. Like it's like people are starving for the social connection. So we pull up, and my boy was apprehensive. He was worried. So just because he didn't want anybody to get too close or whatever, I'm like, don't worry, they're not going to get close. Like it's fine. We're in the car. They're on their driveway. It's all good. So he made a sign. So I lowered his window a little bit. He showed the sign and we talked just for like a couple of minutes. And you could see like the boy was happy, right? Because he hasn't seen Will in weeks. They haven't talked or anything. And then the parents were like, you could tell they were emotional.
Hmm.
They're like, thanks for taking the time out of your life. Like to most people, it's just whatever. You get in your car and you drive for 15 minutes and you drive back home. But it's more than that, right? Like, especially at this time, it's more than that. And I was happy. I was like, hey, this isn't a problem. This is what we're here for, right? Like, this is part of what it means to be on a team, to do things together and to help each other out when you need it because they become your family because you spend so much time with them. They're your hockey family or your baseball family or whatever. So I could just, I've seen the videos and the videos don't mean anything to me, but when I actually participated in one, I was like, this is cool. Like now I know why people are doing this, right? And then the hockey team, not my hockey team, the hockey team, one of the parents saw one of those videos where people with hockey sticks were like um, bouncing up and down toilet paper from one person to the next, where
Hmm.
you bounce the toilet paper and then you toss it in a direction, and it ends up landing on somebody else's stick somewhere else. And they did like a cross country thing. It was really cool. One of the parents said, "Hey, should we get our kids to do this? Roland will put the video together. We got to do this and this." So, people stepped up to the challenge. And when we finally put the video together and we shared it, it was like everybody on the team was super pumped because we haven't seen each other since March 12th, when we were literally told the season's over. Pack up your stuff, go home. We'll be in touch about like your jerseys and blah, blah, blah. But like the season's over. And so the kids loved seeing each other again. They loved having another video, because that ended abruptly as well. Like everything just ended abruptly. And these people, you spend so much time with them that it's nice to connect in certain ways. So I have a feeling the birthday drive-bys are the new thing, and that's what'll be happening moving forward with all the kids that my son's kind of connected to from his sports teams. And then I also think that we're gonna have to find more fun things to create or to put together to just keep moving in a positive direction. But I'm annoyed with the people that aren't taking this seriously, and I'm trying not to judge. Like I do have a couple of friends that still don't really. They're like, this is not a big deal. It's like flu type symptoms, and I've said to them, okay, fine, I get your position, but like, are you seeing what what is happening to some of the people that are getting this? So, for example, there's a nursing home in Bob Cajun,
Yep.
and basically the COVID-19's like out of control in that nursing home, and like old people are dying. They're just dropping dead, and the people who work there are at risk. The people who live there, like they're all it. It's a bad situation. How do you protect people in that situation, right? So long story short, like I've been sending them the articles, and I'm like, read the article. So you think you're okay? You think your kids are okay? There's a friggin' nursing home where our most vulnerable people they're not coming out of there. Like that's where their life's gonna end. So for you to say, it's not really a big deal or whatever, I'm like, open your eyes and look at the different perspectives. You're privileged. You have a house. You're able-bodied and young enough to be able to like handle this stuff right now. These old people, they're in a home for whatever reason. Nobody can come visit them now. No visitors allowed in. The only people they see are the people that work there with them. And some of them are sick and it's spreading like crazy. So read the article and think for a minute that, yeah, it's not affecting you. But what if you had your dad in that home? I guarantee you then you're going to look at this very differently. There's going to be a seriousness that takes a hold of you that has never taken a hold of you like that before, because it's connected to you now. And there's no escaping it. Right? So if you're on your own and your parents aren't in that situation, or a loved one or somebody you're close to, then you just don't know. I'm reading about it and I'm freaking out just reading about it, thinking these people are basically trapped in this situation. There's nowhere for them to go. And if they get it, it could be very bad for them. So I'm like trying to honor people's perspective and stuff, but at the same time, it's like people are telling you what to do. This is, it's not, I could see at first people like, come on, man, this is not serious. It's serious now. Look at the nursing homes. Look at the United States. Like it's run rampant there because they're not doing what they should be doing. They don't believe in it or they don't care. Like I truly believe, I don't want to get too political, but I truly believe that the President of the United States doesn't care about people dying. They're not connected to him. He doesn't care. He's shown from like his past behavior and the way he's been operating, he's shown his cards. This is how he rolls.
I would say an utter lack of empathy. Like just to an extreme level.
And yet he's responsible for that huge country.
And has the eye time and ear time of the nation. So he has a platform that he can spread this through, right? People are willing to sort of take his guidance over common sense and science. Like, it's the most bizarre inversion of like healthy societal response that people would sort of give him the time to talk the way he does.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And the two parts of it, that he's saying it, that someone exists like that, it's blockbuster level creativity that a character like him exists in real time. But I also look at the individuals that are craving leadership and that are looking to him for direction and looking to him for clarity and looking to him to keep the ship straight. So, in the realm of politics where you talk about when you don't always get everything that you want, you have to pick the best fit candidate. And I don't think I honestly don't believe that Republicans were thinking this was the best fit candidate when they voted him in. Like, I don't think they had a vision that they would have somebody that, as you said, was willing to consider the deaths of fragile individuals as a reasonable commodity or transaction in the wellness of a country. Like, I don't think that was part of the thinking. And I there's individuals that are Republicans that voted him in. You imagine being a part of that team that brought this type of thinking to the American people. I feel so much relief in listening to how our leadership is kind of steering us through it. Even if I still have a little bit of like, yeah, buts about it. I wish they would say this. I wish they would do that. But the bigger framework about how we're getting our information and being led through this, both at the federal and a provincial level, I'm at peace with it overall. And it's not just in comparison to other jurisdictions. I'm saying in general, I feel good about how information is coming to me as a citizen of Canada and a citizen of Ontario. And I just at the same time I'm like, my God, to be in the States.
I agree with you, and I also like when we look at our provincial government, it's not what you and I would want for our province, but I have to say that our provincial government is following suit with our federal leadership, and they are making the right decisions. They are, in my opinion, doing what's needed to try to control this, to try to make this better. And it truly is. It makes me good about where we're at, and it makes me feel really good about our leadership and who is guiding these people, who is providing these people with support, advice, consultation, because they're actually doing what they need to do to make this better. And, you know, I'm not a fan of our premier or his ministers or the way he runs or was running the province, but I have to say that since this has started, he has been showing leadership around this issue, this experience, and I believe he's moving in a direction that is going to save lives and keep the economy moving in the right way, and trying to help people in Ontario survive and even thrive in a way. So, big thumbs up that we're not living like our neighbors to the south of us. I feel really bad for them in terms of their a lot of their leadership. Like some states are not, are like New York State. That that governor is really he's doing everything he can. He's acting presidential actually.
Cuomo.
Cuomo, he's
Yeah.
acting presidential. He's not scared to go on TV and to say how it is and what's going to happen, what he's going to do. I mean, Donnie is doing the same thing, but in the opposite direction. He wants Easter to happen, or at least he did. He wants everything to go back to normal for Easter. And it's like, is this guy for real? This is
It's
what
a
people.
it's a weird brand of hope. It's a really
Yes.
weird brand of hope. That's what some of just 0.00001% of the time that I think about in his words is that is there's like what is the positive hopeful message that's just getting lost in his ego babble, like that idea of getting back to, because everyone's either accepting new normal or trying to get back to their retro normal or just trying to figure out what the normal is. Like what's the thing that gives me peace and happiness and connectedness right now? And for some people, like they're doing new things and saying, I'm open, so I'm going to start putting pieces into that puzzle that make me feel whole. Others are saying I need to make the puzzle smaller. I can't exist in that space. Others have moved to whole new puzzle. So when I listen to him talk, I think I'm no longer respecting I no longer respect his position nor his capacity for compassion, and in some ways, like I feel I feel like I'm defensive to listening to him, but I feel like I'm also when you kind of listen to little kids talk and you realize they just don't know what they're talking about, like children talking. I'm starting to use that ear, a very parental ear, where I think to myself, I wish they hadn't said
Well, folks, it seems as though there's been an issue on Chris's end with power. He just messaged me, he said the power just went out on my whole block and came back on. So I would say that this is the end of season 3, episode 25 today. Thanks for listening, and hopefully we'll be back next week. Have a good one.